Hey everyone, welcome to a hot take. An early morning hot take, thus the jammies. So, what the hell, man? I got a copyright strike, so I didn't like that. I guess it was inevitable because I'm doing trailers, but it seems to me I've seen a lot of other reaction videos and they seem to show lots of the trailer, so I don't know, maybe the algorithm just screwed me, or I tend to think it would have to be because of the subject matter and my reaction to the subject matter. So it was, for those of you who haven't seen it, my Picard video, going over the Picard trailer from the New York Comic Con. And I didn't particularly think it was great. Patrick Stewart's awesome, but Star Trek The Next Generation it was never great, and a spin-off show just feels sort of tired and old. It just feels very old. It didn't feel like something the fans demanded, Didn't feel like there was a lot of unfinished business with Picard. It felt like, they did a series, they did a bunch of movies, and even the movies started to fade. Like, this just feels like a money grab because, Patrick Stewart's such a phenomenal actor, and he looks relatively like Picard did in the series. Although I'll say that the early stills of him looked amazing. I was like, wow, he really looks good. And then later, I saw the trailer, and he looks kind of old. He's starting to really show his age a little bit. But I guess I have to go over, I don't know if this copyright strike will be lifted. I don't know. I feel that it was a Trekkie who likes Picard, snitched on me to CBS of all people, like who cares? And CBS took it down. Now, it might not be true. It might just be the algorithm. It might just be YouTube protecting its various corporate interests. But that's my gut feeling. So the whole Picard thing, it just feels very unnecessary. It's just like, how many times are we going to see these characters? They're not as good as the old characters. They're just not. They never were. And you could say, oh, you're an old school Trekkie. You only like the old stuff. Look, Gene Roddenberry had a vision, and he hired some of the best sci-fi writers at that time to write the episodes. Now, it wasn't all perfect, but you have to respect the man's vision. He rewrote every episode. He was in constant battles with the studio to keep the show on the air. They were doing very risky things at a time when television was a medium for risk. Okay? Television in the 90s, when Next Generation came out, not risky. And the show came out during the writer's strike, and it felt like a bunch of executives wrote the damn show. It was awful. The first season is just awful. Fight me. That first season, just, to me, is the worst. It's the absolute worst. And every Star Trek series that came out after, I think Deep Space Nine was okay. I think it started the strongest out of the newest series and got better. But, man, Next Generation started in the toilet. It couldn't have started any worse. They should have canceled it, really. They should have canceled the show. As much as the later seasons were better, they were okay. But the problem with it is it was hobbled. It was hobbled. You're talking about a character that sits around at a conference table to discuss their problems. This isn't Star Trek. Star Trek was about exploring the unknown. These guys felt like, a CEO and his various underlings, having a meeting in the conference room, which has been, that torch has been taken up by the Orville, apparently. It doesn't feel like adventure. It doesn't feel like, wow, we're going to go somewhere, and who knows what's going to happen. It feels like, okay, everyone, thanks for coming. It feels like the friggin' Office in space. And again, Patrick Stewart's great actor. The cast, pretty good. Jonathan Frakes, really good director. Really good director. But let's be honest. This series is gonna here's what the trailer was. Space battles, okay. Picard getting indignant, vowing to do something for someone somewhere. A bunch of young people around him because, that's Hollywood. Like, we can't have an old guy as the main character and just leave it at that. No. We got to surround him with hot, new people so they can have sex with each other. Because no one wants to see Picard have sex with anyone. And then, they trot out Next Generation characters slowly but surely. We're going to see where they ended up. And, we already saw this. We already saw this in the Next Generation. How many times are you going to do it? We saw it in the movies. How many times are you going to do it? And then all this very sort of, no one in the Federation. The problem with the Federation is not really a problem, but Roddenberry's vision of the Federation was that it was a utopia. Okay? Everything was great in the Federation. That's the premise. It starts out, everything at home is great. So ever since then, there's been this idea in Hollywood. They've kind of like dug into it and said, no, maybe it's not so great. That's not Star Trek. Star Trek is the Federation's a utopia, and they're out exploring, trying to, meet other races and people and aliens and whatever, and trying to help people. That, to me, has always been the concept of Star Trek. If you're going to get into the inner workings of the Federation and this guy's career, and he's a careerist and he does some bad stuff, that's a different show. That's why Next Generation wasn't really Star Trek. It was kind of a shadow of Star Trek. There wasn't a lot of intrigue back with the Federation in the original show. Some, very little. And it was mostly about how other planets and other aliens affected the Federation and the people in it. And it was mostly about Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. 3. That's a tight-knit group. 3 guys. We got a million characters. You had so many characters on Next Generation, they had to kill one off just to thin the herd out. And so now you got Picard, and you're going to trot out all the people. And I don't care about these new characters. I barely care about Picard. He's not Kirk. Picard to me is a guy who, when he retires from running the Enterprise, he becomes like a delegate at the UN, and he's busy with paperwork about irrigation systems in South Africa. That's the kind of stuff I see Picard doing, like really boring stuff. That he'd be good at it. He'd be this great diplomat who goes to places and really puts together these complicated things, but that's the kind of character he is. He's not like Kirk. Kirk can't retire. Kirk couldn't retire. He couldn't retire for 10 seconds. He'd retire, he'd go out for a week and go, I gotta get back. That's the kind of character Kirk was. And that's the kind of guy I wanted to see. The guy who can't stop. He can't stop exploring. He's got to do it. Picard didn't need to do it. Yeah, he could. Oh, there's an outrage? Okay, I'll come. I'll come over there. Kirk can't retire. Well, that's the difference. And you want to talk about the rest of the other series? Deep Space Nine, pretty good. Again, kind of not Star Trek. The pitch was Casablanca in space, I believe. After that, though, Voyager, I watched the entire run of Voyager, me and my friends. And we would make fun of it every week because it was terrible, in my view. Awful show. Had a potential because who had this setup of half Federation guys, half terrorists that have to work together in order to get home. That could have been that concept goes out the window about 2.5 episodes in. You know, there wasn't really anything there. Should have been like backstabbing, people getting killed on the ship, or, you know, the other side taking over and then they take over, and it was way too reasonable, that show. Should have been like, you know, Knives Out kind of thing. And it was just not a great show. It just lapses right back into Next Generation stuff almost immediately. And then you got Enterprise with Scott Bakula. Look, I like Scott Bakula. I thought he was great in Quantum Leap, but I couldn't even watch. I was out of Enterprise the moment I heard the theme song. God, that show was just the worst in my opinion. Just the absolute worst. You know, it flew in the face of the original series, so it didn't even have that going for him. Like, take at least what the original series did and build upon it. Oh, no, we can't. We're Hollywood. We know better. Oh, no. We're going to have different Klingons. We're going to have different this. We're going to have different that. Pathetic. After that I watched the first episode and I was out. Ouch. And the CBS All Access thing, first off, I'm not paying for Star Trek. Sorry, not worth it anymore. You knew the deal, TV. You make the TV shows. You put crappy commercials in my show, which I'm annoyed by but tolerate, and you get the money for the show and make it work. You don't come to me with your hand out telling, oh, we're going to make a show. Well, make a good show then. You better make a show I have to watch. I don't have to watch Star Trek. Seen it. Seen the best. You know, I'm going to pay for this new woke Star Trek, woke track. No thanks. I'll pass. There's plenty other fish in the sea in the world of sci-fi now. Plenty of other shows. The Expanse, I hear great things about. That's a show I need to catch up on, check out. And look, even The Expanse or a lot of these other shows, you know, Star Trek was the greatest. It was the greatest because they had all these great sci-fi guys write the damn show. And with all the money they're pouring in to these sci-fi shows, why aren't they doing that now? Why don't they say, hey, we've just announced a new sci-fi show and we've hired all the greatest sci-fi writers to write every episode? That would be something. But they don't. They don't think that way. It's all about branding, right? I mean, Star Trek is a brand. It's a franchise. There's a casino. It's overdone. It's time to put Star Trek out the pasture. They killed off Kirk. Dumb. It was dumb. Shatner's still alive. Shatner's still alive and still would play Kirk in a second. So killing him off, dumb. And if you're going to kill off Kirk, let me tell you the way Kirk should have died. Kirk should have went out with having the ship self-destruct. Because that was a thing he would do. He would threaten to blow himself up. Like something super ballsy like that. Like he gets into a battle to cover the retreat of someone. Here's the situation. Like you got the Next Generation guys in their friggin' conference room, and you got Kirk in his old ship for whatever reason. I don't know. You set it up, and they get into a huge battle. It should be with Klingons, really, somehow, and they're just gonna kill these guys if they don't get out of there. And the new Enterprise is damaged. And they come up with this plan where they're going to take the old Enterprise and they're going to push it into the Klingons and blow it up and hope that it damages enough of their ships so they can get away. At the last second, as they initiate this plan, Kirk beams back over to his old ship because he knows that is a risky plan and that the ship has to be in the right area to get enough of the Klingons. So he sacrifices himself. And he even has a plan. So you leave it open that maybe he somehow survives. But he even has a plan, but like it doesn't work. And then he just goes down fighting. He goes down, he's pushing the buttons and, you know, he goes down and boom, he takes out like half the Klingon fleet. And it's just epic. That's the way Kirk should have gone down. Not the way it happened in the movie. I didn't even go see that. Who wants to see Kirk die? Who wants to see that? It would have been epic like that. Sign me up. Oh, because then people would be talking about it. People would be going, did you see Kirk die in this movie? Oh, you got to see it. You got to see it. It was epic. He just goes F you to all the Klingons. He's out there fighting. That's what you want to see. Epic. You know, Picard's okay. He's not epic. He's not legendary like they say in the commercials. He is the CEO of the Enterprise. He's like an accountant. Okay? Let's be real. He's like an accountant. You know, he does good. He's a technocrat. He's not a bad captain. He's mildly entertaining, but, you know, he's not Kirk. Kirk's badass. Picard, not badass. Fight me.